Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. As always, when you leave a like, a comment, or subscribe, I smile. I don't know. Thank you very much for all the likes and all the support. Welcome back to another News I Missed, where I go over news I missed, because there's always a trillion things happening in this space. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. In a discussion under a tweet by FTX founder and CEO, Bitcoiner, and former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, he revealed why he believes that proof of work is so important for Bitcoin. A lot of it has to do with, without having to dig too deep into that one thing, a lot of people believe that Bitcoin gains a large portion or nearly all of its value because of proof of work. It's because of the energy intensive situation of mining a Bitcoin that essentially is a reason why it has so much value, because of the energy converted into a coin. He also stated that his company Square is looking into improving the work of the Lightning Network. After his recent interview with the Financial Times, the head of the FTX exchange, Sam Bankman-Fried, said that it's still weird that his name is Bankman. I wonder if he works for a bank. Stated that Bitcoin has no future as a means of payment. In a tweet that came out later, he changed and said that he believes Bitcoin does have a future as a potential store of value. He also admitted that Bitcoin can be transferred using the Lightning Network. There was apparently a thread of tweets between them where Jack Dorsey was asking him questions, but he did not reply to Bitcoin actually being used as a form of payment. This is something that has been going on since around 2016, this discussion of Bitcoin being used as a means of payment. A lot of people wrote it off and are still writing it off because we know that Bitcoin's slow. It's like the slowest, it's like a snail. However, the idea of the Lightning Network, a lot of people, I think, refuse to acknowledge that it actually exists because it kind of destroys the entire discussion of if Bitcoin could be used as a medium of exchange. And the answer is absolutely. Of course, yes, especially if the price ends up going a lot higher. We will eventually hit a stable Bitcoin price, the same as the US dollar or the euro. It'll kind of be on that same exact level. And the idea of Bitcoin having very high transaction fees completely disappears when you simply just use the Lightning Network. Jack Dorsey also stated that his Square crypto payments company is looking into providing enough liquidity for payment channels based on the Lightning Network, with Matthew Daniel Green, a U.S. cryptographer, asked whether Square would be able to do this. Of course, they're going to be able to actually do this. The Lightning Network, while it has been picked up, for some reason does not have, at the moment, enough liquidity inside of it to be able to actually deal with all the transactions that would be able to go through it. I kind of explained a couple of months ago how the Lightning Network kind of works. Basically, you take some Bitcoin, you lock it into the network, and you use that amount of Bitcoin that you put into it to create payment channels. So let's say you take a tenth of a Bitcoin, 0.10 Bitcoin, and you chop that up into 0.01% Bitcoin channels. Basically, every transaction that is 0.01 Bitcoin, which would be around $300 or less, can flow through your payment channel. And as your reward for sending that transaction through your channel, you get a Satoshi or two Satoshis, whatever the actual transaction fee might be at that time. But it hasn't really, I still think, it's simply because everyone's waiting for Bitcoin to hit these monstrous levels before we even get to a discussion talking about using Bitcoin as something to transact with. But we'll need the Lightning Network to already be done and to be liquefied, full of liquidity before we can actually use it when Bitcoin, if Bitcoin ends up ever hitting millions and millions of dollars. So I'm pretty sure that I suspected in 2018 there would be a lot more companies who would be jumping onto this, especially after we heard that the New York Stock Exchange and Bakkt would be getting into it. I assume that there would be major world usage of the Lightning Network. Now, I'm pretty sure that El Salvador is also using the Lightning Network to send their transactions, but the capacity is nowhere near there. We'd probably need 10, 15,000 Bitcoin separated into gigantic chunks to be able to like take the entire world's transactions through it. But I give it 5 years, especially if the market ends up skyrocketing once again. People are going to want to use their Bitcoin, but no one wants to pay a $12 transaction fee. That ain't it. Yeah, that's the Jack Dorsey Lightning Network news. And yeah, let's move on. This was actually quite big news, and not enough people, I think, made noise about this. The El Salvadorian president announced a meeting of 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities from 44 countries on Twitter late last Sunday. On Monday, 44 countries met with him and had a discussion about financial inclusion, the digital economy, banking the unbanked, that means Bitcoin, and El Salvador's Bitcoin rollout and their benefits from having it. It said President Bukele tweeted on Sunday evening, tomorrow 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities from 44 nations will gather in El Salvador to discuss financial inclusion and all the other things I just told you. On Monday, officials from Africa, Asia, and Latin America have met in Guatemala with financial inclusion and the digital economy among the subjects of discussion. Why I think this is so fascinating, I have a friend, I don't know if you're listening anymore, I think he might have taken a step back from the market. He was a firm believer for a while in the idea of Latin American and African countries as the kind of the main catalyst for people getting into the market. The idea being these countries have been ravaged for decades now by northern countries, if you will, who've kind of taken basically all of their minerals, all of their land, everything kind of from them. And these are some of the worst economies on the planet because they've been so drained by other America and Europe for such a long period of time. Now imagine all these countries who in many cases don't have any economic sovereignty. This is why we saw all the regulators run after El Salvador and be like, you can't do that. Imagine if these 44 countries adopted Bitcoin as legal tender and simply traded Bitcoin amongst themselves and created a 44-45 with El Salvador nation economy of countries on the planet who just simply traded between themselves, who accumulated Bitcoin, who mined Bitcoin for their economies. There would no longer be any discussion as to if Bitcoin is going to make it. This news, I believe, should have been a lot more popular. The fact that we now, I think aren't there 2 countries on the planet who officially accept Bitcoin as legal tender? The president of El Salvador stated in January that he knew of 4 other countries who were going to come forward this year, and so far we only have 1, and accept Bitcoin as legal tender. I don't think it's a coincidence that you'll see a list of the 44 countries as well, some of them, 44 countries are meeting with him to be like, how have you benefited from this? I could see 3 countries. I could see 5 having a meeting. 44 sounds like they've been having some behind the scenes discussions for a while. Now they're meeting in person to be like, what did you do and what exactly would we have to do? It says some of the places right here. It says the Central Bank of Principe, the Central Bank of Paraguay, the National Bank of Angola, Ghana, Nambia, Uganda, Republic of Guinea, Madagascar, Haiti, Burundi, the Central Bank of Eswatini, Bank of Jordan, Bank of Gambia, Honduras, and the Directorate General of Treasury, wherever that might be from. These are countries who have been, I don't have to go too deep into world events, but yeah, if you know anything about history and you see these countries' names, they would benefit the most from adopting a decentralized currency that is not controlled by and will never be controlled by a country and countries who have tried to keep them in line. So I think a lot of this was also, I mean, it was fairly popular news, but no one was talking about it. Like, it wasn't like a major talking point. It was simply in the news, and people were like, oh, that's kind of cool. If by the end of even the end of next year, if we have half of these countries adopting Bitcoin, do you understand where the market is going to go? And apparently they also bought the dip with another purchase of 500 Bitcoin, which is like the least important thing when you talk about 44 other countries. So I've thought for a while, of course, countries are having these discussions, especially as you talk about the US dollar collapsing. A lot of these countries also have had their currencies completely destabilized over the last 40, 50, 60 years. So yeah, this is something to definitely keep an eye on, because I feel like this is super significant news. 44 countries don't just simply go, should we all hang out together? No, this was planned, and I wonder exactly what they were talking about, because there was no news after they spoke. But I assume that's all, quite hush-hush. Yeah, that's the El Salvador met with 44 countries, hello, to talk about Bitcoin adoption. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, I gotta scroll down. Bitcoin has hit a new significant milestone in terms of holders of more than one Bitcoin. According to the team at Glassnode, the number of Bitcoin addresses holding one or more Bitcoin has reached a new all-time high of 841,224 wallet addresses. There's a little chart here, and I tried to make it a lot bigger. This was a major discussion a couple of years ago. And I mean, we know that there's only or will ever be 21 million Bitcoin. But a large part of the discussion was the centralization of money within the market. With a lot of people realizing that, I mean, especially years ago, there were a lot of wallets that had 0.01 Bitcoin, but there were far more, or far less, if you will, that had about 15 Bitcoin, 750 Bitcoin, 95,000 Bitcoin. All these discussions were going on for a very long time. So it's nice to see that the distribution continues, especially when it comes to holding an entire Bitcoin, which is usually like the goal. And I was going to say, like, I would love if this number was a lot higher, but once again, it's not that possible. There's a reason why, the significance of these companies buying 47,000 Bitcoin at one time. You basically stop 46,999 other wallets from ever holding an entire Bitcoin. But it's nice to see some relative distribution, especially if we end up ever seeing those insane Bitcoin prices. Not the most spectacular news, if you will, but it's still nice to see this spread out a little bit more. I wonder what the numbers are for like half of a Bitcoin. I assume it skyrockets. I wonder what it is for like a fourth of a Bitcoin, or that illustrious, what was the number? 0.28 Bitcoin to be part of the 1%. Hopefully, I would love if it's a couple million, but corporations and all that. Yeah, that's the Bitcoin accumulation news. And let's move on. Also in the news, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust on Monday announced the addition of 5 new tokens to their investment products. The new tokens have begun trading in the market, taking Grayscale's total number of products to 14. They added BAT, Chainlink, Decentraland, Filecoin, and LivePeer. What? I think that coin is from like 2014. That's weird. The digital currency asset manager offers investors comprehensive exposure to the crypto market, or they could just buy the coins themselves in a crypto wallet. The token edition comes at a time when the cryptocurrency market witnessed a massive hit because of Terra Luna, the wider cryptocurrency market, what have you. And I think they also just launched a cryptocurrency ETF in Europe. It'll be available to people on the London Stock Exchange, the Italian Stock Exchange, and the German Stock Exchange. And apparently across Europe, I guess that's what these stock exchanges mean. And at the moment, they have Bitcoin, Bcash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Horizon, Litecoin, Solana, Lumens, and Zcash. So Grayscale, not as in the news as they used to be. Anytime Grayscale coughed hard enough or purchased a Bitcoin, the market would go completely insane. I think because there are so many actual Bitcoin ETFs now around the world, they've kind of taken a relative back seat. We are still waiting to see, it's not going to happen, waiting to see if the US SEC is going to convert them into their own Bitcoin ETF. We all know it's not going to happen. The last we heard was that they were talking about taking a legal action against the SEC. So I guess they're preparing all the paperwork because we know the SEC is special. But yeah, the original intent, I understand, of Grayscale was meant to be like a Bitcoin only company. But I think they see the dollar signs are popping out of their eyes because of all the other coins that are out there that are, gaining popularity, and there's a lot of money to be made in altcoins. So I assume we'll get news as to if these are a success, because Grayscale before has added a lot of coins to their platform, and a lot of them weren't being bought or purchased. Like they had like trading volume of like $12,000. Not every coin is going to make it. So, good luck. And yeah, let's move on. And to finish things off, the Brazilian stock exchange known as B3, it's for Brazil, Bolsa and Balsao, will begin trading futures contracts for Bitcoin within the next 3 to 6 months. Okay, it's kind of a while away. This is according to a report from Valor. They said we plan to launch Bitcoin futures in the next 3 to 6 months. Exactly what we just said. Wonderful. No details were offered on whether or not B3 had partnerships lined up to offer the products, or if another company would be providing infrastructure. This past January, Valor reported that Joaquin Milke de Lima, Director of Information Technology at B3, stated that exchange's intention of releasing Bitcoin futures. During the January interview, Milka? I'll say Milka. Noted that B3 had been looking into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies since 2016. Haha. That time frame once again. But that the issue of valuing the assets against each other, or either the dollar or the Brazilian real, played a confusing role in their determination. I'm sure they're not confused anymore. So this is a bit of a weird one, simply because if I'm not mistaken, I believe about a month or two ago, cryptocurrency trading was made like legal within Brazil. They have an actual framework. There was also some news. Was it Ripple? Ripple and some other company have also entered Brazil. They're doing business with them. And I'm pretty sure they also have their own Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, or it's like a cryptocurrency, like a spot fund as well. I'm a bit leery or weary, both, of Bitcoin futures, because they're usually only made to be able to bet against the market, which a lot of regulators think is totally fine. They think the idea of the cryptocurrency market being too optimistic is terrible, and therefore people should be able to bet against it and lower the prices. But I think it's also just another way for stock exchanges to, of course, make money. But I'm still on that team where I'm like, a lot of these companies are going to realize in the future that they should have just been actually buying and potentially holding the coins, as opposed to selling paper versions of it for the Brazilian real or the US dollar. But, we'll see in 2032 and all that stuff. So that's the Brazilian stock exchange. It's going to be offering Bitcoin futures 3 to 6 months. Like, just why not release the news when you're doing it? Like, is the demand that high in Brazil for Bitcoin futures that you couldn't have said it like a day or two before? It's Bitcoin futures. Like, they're kind of everywhere. Like, even the American ones, the trading volume is constantly going down because it's investors probably were like, oh, snaps, let's buy the actual asset, as opposed to, once again, a piece of paper that says you own Bitcoin, but you don't really own it because it's in an inflationary asset. Alrighty, let's move on. Yeah, I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might, that's a full bus, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely, geez, how can they breathe in there? Absolutely fantastic. Oh, geez, oh my gosh. It's terrible. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, only one person, and or supporting. Now it's full. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.